February 2023. You're listening to Oblast with Don and Kevin, and I am Kevin.
And I'm Don.
And it's the day before my birthday. Birthday Eve here. Turning 51.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
Yeah, 51 years old. I didn't think I'd get this far, to be honest with you. I really didn't. My dad checked out. He stroked out at 55 and lasted till he was 57 in a terrible state of like the one video or something.
Yeah.
Don't want to end up like that guy. But so far so good. I just got my blood work back from the doctor. Went in and got that done. Everything was actually good for once. Like my triglycerides a little high because I gained a little bit of weight. Not a lot, a couple pounds, but that just raises it, you know. But everything else was in the normal range, which was good for me. My kidney function was normal. So creatinine's always a little high, but it's in the normal range of high. So that's good. And my cholesterol balance was actually good for once. Went out and ate a burger.
Why not?
Chomped on
Extra
some sugar. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And but everything's good there. So tomorrow, the little lady friend and I are going to go to the rainforest at the zoo because I'm off work and it's just something to do. Not having like a big thing because like her daughter's in school and you know she has to pick her kid up around 2:30 or something.
Right.
So you can't really do anything.
Get time before that to hang out.
Right. Exactly. You just do something during the day, that kind of thing, and that's what I'm going to do, and then probably go to yoga after that. And today was also the first day back in the office because the bank mandated all the tech workers to go back into the office 2 days a week. Mm-hmm. And they wanted it to be like, so if you're in a team, right? You work on a team. And you all work together, then you would all agree, hey, let's all come in on like Tuesdays and Thursdays, you know, or something like that, right? And then the whole team would try to come in on those 2 days, and that's what they would do. That's what they expect. Whatever it is, I don't know. My team is all separated. We're all over the country. So there's nobody in the building that I go to that's on my team, right? So it doesn't matter what day I go in. So I decided I'm just going to go in on Mondays and Tuesdays because I just want to get it over with, right? You know, just I don't want to drag it out or have to look forward to none of that, you know? And also because there's holidays on Mondays a lot, so I can kind of use that to maybe lose a day. They tell you that you're supposed to like choose a different day to go in. And, you know, if I worked with a team of people and they were looking to work with me on something in person, I would agree with all of this, right? But there's nobody there. So I'm just like, all right, well, this is dumb. But I'm going to go in. I ain't going to quit over it or anything. I'll go in and, you know, do my thing and see who's all there. So they told us, they said, hey, we want all of you start coming in this week. This is the week. Starts on Monday. Get in the office. And that was the chief technical officer. And the CEO of the company, of the whole bank, of the entire bank, had this thing and said, if you're a manager, right, 5 days a week, you got to go in.
Get in there. Not you, but.
Right. 5 days a week. Okay. So today's the day. I go in and I work in a 2-floor building that's fairly large, you know, but it's 2 floors. Okay. And the ground floor is mostly like there's a cafeteria, there's conference rooms and things like that. And there's a half though that is desks, right? So half of the floor is, you know, cubicles and stuff like that. But the other half is, you know, other things, mail room, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So most of the activity happens on the second floor, and the second floor is, you know, separated into 2 halves, basically. It's open, you know, cubicles, No real offices with doors or anything. It's all cubicles. And then in the center, there's some meeting rooms. Not a lot, maybe 6 meeting rooms in the middle. And then all around the outside, it's just cubicles. Well, so I'm going in, and, I'm getting in at, about 8 in the morning. And there are 5 people there. This thing, before COVID, and it wasn't very crowded before COVID, but I would say there was probably anywhere between like 30 or 40 people, which is not very crowded for this amount of desks and things that are there. But that was average, 30 or 40 people, just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And now there was literally like 5 people. And this is the first day back. 5 people there. And my old manager, who has a desk there, he wasn't there.
Yeah.
So if they're telling you to go in 5 days a week, wouldn't you expect him to be in there?
Well, it's one of the 5, right?
You would think so. But, but no. So, I mean, I don't know what I do realize. I went in on a Monday, and a lot of these other teams were probably like, let's not do Monday because I want to just kind of like relax after the weekend,
Yeah.
So let's go in on like another day. So I get that. I might go in on like Tuesday and it might be busier, or I might go in on like Friday or something. I can't imagine people would pick Friday. You know what I mean? But maybe, and maybe it'll be there'll be more there. But I don't know, man. I would have still have expected there to have been substantially more people than was there, and I'm really curious about the rate of attrition that might develop because of this, because of them forcing us to go back to the bank. Because part of the problem is that the CEO, when the job market was tight, had made a thing, and he was like, hey, don't worry about having to come into the office. You don't have to come into the office. We're going to keep our flexible thing going here. If this works for you, that's great. And then, we had a record quarter last quarter. So, we had record profit. And, but it didn't meet Wall Street expectations. Like, who cares what Wall Street expectations? I mean, the bank does, of course, but we had record profits anyway. It was record profit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everybody working from home is doing a gangbusters job. But these guys are just like, I don't like that all these buildings are empty. Force people to come into work, and people are just like hot, they don't want to do it. And, they're going to look elsewhere. And I think it's because they think, the economy is going to be bad now, because of this recession. So they're thinking that the job market's going to get tight. Well, lo and behold, the jobs report just comes out, and it's never been lower. It's like a record low. Like there's like 1.7 jobs for every 1 worker. So it's like, so they were wrong, basically. They're wrong. And now they're going to lose a bunch of employees because people want to work from home. It's 2023. The people don't want to go into the office, go for the drive. They want to be there when their kids get home from school. You know what I mean? It's stupid. So, and listen, I get that there are jobs that you have to be in there, and there are going to be times when it makes sense to collaborate. But when you're me, and where my whole team is in other states, it makes 0 sense for me to be in the office. But there I was. I'm the guy that's there. Me and 5 other people.
Hey,
Nobody
everybody
else.
Here I am.
And then, on top of all of that, the country gets attacked by a balloon from China.
Right?
I mean, could it get any worse? Could it get any worse around here?
Not just any balloon. A weather balloon.
A weather balloon from China.
No, spy balloon, because they want to know what kind of bologna we're eating.
It is
I
weird.
don't know.
Like,
it's dumb.
Like it okay. If it's a weather balloon, right? They could have just told us ahead of time, hey, we're sending up a weather balloon. Here's where it is. Be aware. But no. And we've known about this. Isn't the first time. This is the first time you and I have known about it.
Right.
There's actually been like half a dozen of these things, going back to Trump being in office as well. So Mr. You should shoot it down. He could have shot down his. He didn't. Right. And there's one over like Latin America right now as well. And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, okay, our government's right. You can just use a satellite or you can go on Google Maps basically and see what you want to see, right? And a balloon isn't, you can steer it a little bit, but you can't really go against the air currents, right? You can just kind of wiggle your way around left or right while it's pushing you forward. So you don't have the same level of accuracy that a satellite has, right? So I'm thinking, so they're not using it really for photography. I mean, they're going to take some pictures, I'm sure, right? But I mean, you can do all that with a satellite. So the only thing I was thinking of is that, the only thing to me, because who knows, that makes sense, is that they're probably maybe trying to capture radio waves. Not like the radio that you and I listen to, not like the music on the, hey, what? We want to listen to, the
Mexican radio.
Yeah, we want to listen to radio. But, like a lot of spy type stuff gets sent out over radio. A lot of military transmissions get sent out over radio. And if you send up multiple balloons, you can triangulate where that is. So if you've got one to the, to the left of it, below it, above it, whatever, you can locate it. And then they can pinpoint these locations of where these transmitters are, etc. This is a theory of mine. Like, that would make some sense of why they would use balloons to do this. And of course, allowing it to go all the way across the country just allows them to gather that information, because the people in charge are thinking, well, they're just taking pictures. They can just do that with a satellite. So it's fine. Just let it go. And like, I wish I could have been in the boardroom and raised my hand and be like, well, what if they're trying to pinpoint the radio signal? Yeah. Quiet, Kevin. Shut your mouth. Yeah.
Be quiet.
Did we ask you to speak? Get out. Go get us coffee.
You're so smart. Yeah. Oh, you're so smart. Aren't you, smart boy? Get out of here.
So, but it's be kind of funny though. They did shoot it down over North Carolina there in the water and retrieved it. And, it'd be funny if they gathered it all up and just, they looked at everything and it's just like one of those home weather station things. It's got the little spinny thing on it for the wind and the little arrow that points in the direction. And
a rooster on top. Like, what the hell? What is this? Like
yeah.
What the hell?
It's funny. It's just weighed down with bags of rice. You're like, oh, what the fuck? I don't know. But I mean, seriously, if it was just a weather, they could have just told us, hey, we're launching. And the thing is they launched it over by the Aleutian Islands, which we own, which is the islands near Alaska. And it actually came down on the jet stream through Canada, entered by like Montana, went over to Idaho, whatever. And it's just like, they knew what they were doing. China. What is China doing? I mean, why? They're not going to go to war with us. So what are they doing it for?
Yeah. I just want to see what,
They just want to check out what we're doing,
They're like, we heard there's a lot of McDonald's over there. We want to see them all.
They probably, you can get on a plane from China and fly over to the United States if you have like a, for vacation or whatever. We're friendly enough. I mean, we can go over there. They can come over here. And I'm sure you got to get a visa and everything, but you can do it. So, I mean, realistically, our country probably just has tons of spies. You know what I mean? There's probably Chinese spies all over the place.
Dude, like a James Bond movie in here.
Right. Gathering whatever they need. So the balloon, it really, now it's a big country. It's a big country. It's just like the United States. And it could be, who knows, but it could be just like a non-government thing. It could be some guys that are just like, let's launch a balloon.
Right. Some third grade classroom over in China. They're just like, all right, children, we're going to launch the balloon and see where it lands.
We got all the gear on here, and let's see what we can get back on the computer. Yeah. And then meanwhile, like they start World War III and shit. There was a song called 99 Luftballons.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of all about
She was
that.
German, though.
True. It's a German thing. And it was a lot of balloons. Who has 99 balloons? That's a lot of balloons, man.
And they're all red.
How are you going to let go of all? I mean, if you tried to hold on to 99 balloons, I mean, it would be like that movie Up. I mean, you would just fly away. That's a lot of balloons. I mean, maybe they launched them one at a time, but then would that look like a real threat?
Right. It'd just be like a train. And they're
Yeah,
not even in line.
like a bunch of birds or something. It'd be really small.
Floating around.
Wouldn't be good. Doesn't make sense. But all right. So what are we talking about this?
I got one real.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got a good one. Well, I mean, it's not a great one, but it's like
It better be good.
it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good-ish.
All right. Yeah.
It's about Clint. So,
Those are all
yeah, right. So, dude got a new job, delivering packages for Amazon.
Oh, okay.
I guess,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And so he was telling me about it the other day.
Seems like the kind of guy that would do that job.
And oh my God, that's all he talks about now. It's like, it's so ridiculous. It's like, oh, dude, I don't care about the packages in your car. So he's talking about it the other day, and he goes, dude, you wouldn't believe it. He goes, I parked the van. I found the address. I parked the van. I get out. I go to the back of the van. I get all these packages out. He goes, I got all these packages in my hands. I'm carrying this dude. He's got like 2 or 3 big packages, and I got them in my hands. And he goes, and I go walking up to the gate. I look around. I go, look, okay. I open the gate. I come walking in. He goes, and wouldn't you know it, this perfectly tiger striped pit bull comes out from behind the house, starts growling, barking, and charges right at me. And at that moment when he told me that, I was like, this dog's going to die. like, oh no.
Under the
he's
kiddie
got
pool
another,
behind the one
right.
mile.
I'm like, oh no, this is another story. This is going to end like, oh no. And he goes, I didn't know what to do. I was like, yeah, I go, when that happens, you got like 1 second where you're sitting there going like, there's 1 second where you actually sit there and go, what am I supposed to do? And then you got to do something. And I was just waiting for him to be like, so, I got in a wrestling position and I waited for him to get close and I tackled him. And I was waiting for something, like that. And he goes, so what I did is I dropped the packages on the ground, and it was like the Hulk does. He goes, and I slapped my hands together in front of me. You know how how Hulk does that. Where he claps his hands. He goes, and I slapped my hands in front of me, whack, and I yelled, no. And the dog stopped and just sat down, and it still growled at me, but it just sat there. And I'm sitting there looking at him like, you don't even know what I'm thinking right now. Like in my head, this dog's died 5 ways already because of you. And he goes, and then the owner comes out and goes, oh, I'm sorry, I thought he was chained up. And Clint's like, oh, no, that's okay. And I'm like, I would have been telling him, you're lucky. You're like, if you love that dog, you're lucky he didn't do it, because this dude's certified canine killer, like that's just, and it was like, so nothing happened. He didn't get attacked. He didn't take the dog, but it was funny because he was telling the story, and then he got to that one point, and I was just like, oh no, here we go. Because it's just like, right, like this dog doesn't even know. The dude's 2-0 against dogs or something like that. It's like he's never lost. So, but I just thought that as soon as he was done telling that story, I was like, well, I know what I'm telling Kevin and the listeners this week. So that was it was good, but it wasn't amazing.
Yeah,
but
if he killed the dog, it would have been fucking amazing.
Oh my God.
Good thing that the dog lived and everybody had a happy time.
Yeah. And then what else happened this week? This week I got the same day off as my girlfriend. Kind of like what you were saying, like you're like, oh, we're gonna go to the rainforest, right? I actually spent the whole day with her, which was really weird. And not really weird. It was just like,
I get what you're saying.
I should be doing something. It's my day off. Right. I should be going and taking care of something and doing something, but I didn't. I just didn't do anything all day. And so we went to go eat. We were like, let's go out to eat. So it's like, okay, cool. We get in the car, we're driving, we go to leave. She goes, stop at Starbucks. I want to get a coffee. I feel tired. I need some energy. I was like, okay, fine. She gets her little Starbucks coffee, and I'm driving my car, and she's got it in the cup holder. And as I'm driving, she goes to grab the cup and pulls it up. But my cup holders are all stupid. They like grab the cups. So it's like hard to get them out sometimes. And with the plastic or the cardboard cups or whatever, they'll fold and the lids will pop off before you can even get it out. And so basically that's what happened. The cup got stuck, everything, blah, blah, blah. She tipped it over, whole coffee in the cup holders. of the car, right? Ice, coffee, and just so everybody knows, I hate coffee. I hate the smell of it. I hate everything about it. We talked about this last week. We were talking about why we were talking about cooking pinto beans and making coffee out of that. Right. Jelly beans. So now I'm driving and I look down and there's a full macchiato, cappuccino, frappuccino, all this ice, and it's just in my cup holder. And I'm looking, and she goes, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "It's no big deal. Shit happens. People spill stuff.
Right.
I'm not gonna be mad about it.
No, of course.
What's the point? I'm like, well, whatever. That's cool. It's no big deal. I said, I think I need to find a vacuum cleaner, because how do you get liquid out of the cup holders, right? I'm like, how do I?
A lot of rags, dude.
You would need like a lot of rags, and I'm like, I don't have that many. I'm in my car,
right.
So I see a Speedway, and I was like, well, I'll just pull over here for now, and I'll see if I can get enough of them towels that they have for the windshield wiper thing. I was like, I'll just grab a bunch of those. I pulled in next to the gas pump. I look down into the cup holder, and it's just ice. All the coffee's gone. And I just went, what?
It leaked out onto the floor?
No, well, that's the thing. I was just like, oh no. All the coffee's leaked out, and it's probably going into my carpet. My carpet's going to smell like, coffee, and I hate coffee. I don't know if anybody's heard that or not. I don't know if you heard me when I said that. I hate coffee, and it didn't. I was like reaching down. There's nothing in the carpet. There's nothing. There was nothing wet. Nothing was soaking. My car doesn't stink like coffee. And all I can do since last Thursday, all I've done is just as I'm driving. If I'm driving somewhere, I just look down at the cup holders. I'm like, where the fuck did it go? She
didn't pound it like when you were not looking, right? Like put a straw.
Yeah, right. Like I jumped. Yeah. I'm pulling it. I'm watching traffic, and she's got her face down in there, just like, no, she ain't doing that. Not out of that cup holder. Those things are nasty. It was like, oh no. But so it's like, well, maybe she's like, well, maybe there's like a compartment underneath there, and it all dripped down into there. And I was like, so there's like I got a puddle of coffee in my car somewhere that like I can't get to, is it like, am I driving down the street and there's like coffee droplets falling out of my car? People are like, hey, that car's leaking. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, buddy, you're leaking.
Well, does it smell like coffee?
It smells like vanilla cream. No, it doesn't smell like anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The car doesn't stink at all. And and it was really cold. Remember, it was like negative 20 the other day. And I was like, I'm going to have a frozen chunk of coffee somewhere inside of my car. Like there's coffee that's frozen, like a big chunk of ice. And it's like, and that's going to get real annoying, because if I warm my car up and it starts to melt, then I'm going to hear every time I take a corner, shoom, shoom, shoom. I'm like, I'm waiting for it. Like every time I hit the gas, shoom, hit the brake, shoom. And it's like, this is going to suck. Haven't heard nothing, haven't seen nothing, haven't smelled nothing.
So, you're going to like take your car in for some kind of repair work or something. These guys going to unscrew something, and a bunch of coffee's going to pour out.
Yeah.
So you're like, what the fuck, man? What you put all this coffee in here for?
Like, you're here to get your muffler?
Oh, this is just coffee just happened to be there, is what you're saying,
It's like, oh, you're here to get a muffler, huh? Well, this muffler you got here is really sticky. I don't know what you did to it. I'm like, oh, yeah. But it's
only you, man. Only you would have this weird.
It's just weird. It's just like, where did it go? Like I don't know. I never will.
So dry, it just sucked up the moisture from the turned it back into beans.
Yeah. Send it back to Colombia.
Oh my god!
But yeah, so that's my interest. That's like my two interesting stories for the week. I got some good ones in there.
That's good. So, yeah. I didn't. I mean, I don't know. I've been cooking a lot lately, so I just haven't really done anything too exciting. I watched that Wakanda Forever. It's on Disney. Did you happen to watch it?
No.
Well, it's not great. It's it has Namor
moment,
right? And he's Mexican. And
Yeah.
he's like, I get it. Like, let me just say, I get it. Like, you can't just go exactly with the comic books. You gotta have to have some kind of background and stuff. So they made him like ancient Aztecs, basically, and
Yeah.
then his mom ate like a plant, and she, was able to breathe underwater, and then had him. He's like some hybrid, basically, right? So he can,
Yeah. He could do both.
and he can fly with his wings on his ankles, and they're a little bit larger than they were in the comics, which kind of helps. I mean, not much larger, but
No.
a little bit more, a little bit bigger. So because those ones in the comic books were tiny, it was kind of
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. They're all a little cute.
And he's and I liked that they made him like not a good guy, not a bad guy, just
Yeah.
of his
Okay.
own interests, right?
Right.
And then on the Wakanda side of things, it just kind of, like, well, it just sort of, they Chadwick Boseman funeral, like right at the beginning, basically. And then, the daughter, the one scientist daughter is there, and she's trying to work out, how to stop Namor and things like that. And there's some back and forth with the queen and the warrior women and things. And
Yeah.
if you're yawning right now, that's kind of how it is. It's like 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's kind of long, and it's all right, but it's just okay. So you get my tone. But the thing is that it would be a little bit serviceable if it was leading me towards something else. The only thing they had here is that, like, okay, the Wakanda has vibranium. No one else has vibranium.
Right.
But apparently in the ocean, they found some vibranium. So the CIA went down there, and Namor's group comes out and, kicks their ass with a bunch of whales and shit, so that they can't do whatever they're trying to do. So the CIA eventually is going to come for Wakanda in order to get the vibranium. Or not just the CIA, the whole world basically wants it. All the world nations, the UN and all this stuff. And so Namor is like, Wakanda stands alone, and so they're going to have to come to us as their allies against, the other people, the humans or whatever. So they kind of set that up at the end, but as well as, there's an end credit thing and all this sort of stuff that's, it's like, oh, look what's going on, but whatever. It's nothing really. It's just, who the next Black Panther is going to be, if you care. And so, like, but there's no end game. There's no Thanos. You know what I mean? There's no big bad right now. We've been having this problem for a while. We took a long time with the other movies to get to Infinity War with Thanos, but we saw Thanos. I forget what was it, the first Avengers we saw him at the end of? Was that it?
Yeah.
And so it took a number of years, but we kind of saw where it was going. We keep thinking it's going to be Secret Wars or whatever, but there's just nothing here that's giving us anything definitive about where we're going. Now, Quantumania is coming out in like a week, and it's kind of like, I don't know about that one either, because if it was dropped in the summer, it'd be like a summer blockbuster. But they're dropping it in the middle of February. This is like the time of year where they drop trash in theaters.
Hey.
Like, no, I'm not saying it is trash. I'm saying historically, this is the time of year where they drop the worst movies, because they're just anything that they thought was going to be good to win like awards. They launch those like before Christmas, or on Christmas Day. And then everything else that they have that they don't think is going to work, they dump it in, after. And then, you get through spring, and then you start launching off into the summer blockbuster movies. So Quantumania is coming out, and I'm sure it's going to be serviceable, but it's like, I hope it's good. I hope it's great, I don't know where that's going to lead us either, because I mean, I've seen the previews of it, and it just looks like more, Ant-Man stuff, and maybe Molecule Man shows up Downey, I don't know, but it just it looks really kind of not that interesting. A lot of CGI, not that interesting. But we'll see. Hopefully I'm wrong. I just had a hard time with Ant-Man and the Wasp. I did watch it all the way through. But I just didn't find it, I didn't find that one all that great either. Like, some of the jokes are okay, but the first Ant-Man I thought was great. The second one just felt like more of the same, which I guess was kind of bumming me out. And this one looks like they're just kind of going way over. They're just like, there's a whole civilization of tiny people, And it's like, go ahead.
The problem is they've taken a side character. They've taken somebody who's not a main character. He never had his own book. Never had, you know what I mean? And that's not taking anything away from Ant-Man. He's a great dude,
right?
From what I know.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like this is a side character. It's not someone who could stand on their own and do whatever. It's just a guy they call in when they need somebody, or it's just somebody who happens upon somebody and has to call people to help, or you know what I mean. It's just he just does it, And it's they've gotten to the point now where they're like, okay, we're going to make him a main part of the whole storyline going forward. It's just like, it's Ant-Man. Like he's never been a part of any major storylines in any comic books. It's like he's just Ant-Man. Yeah. And it's it's like like Iron Man started off, nobody knew who Iron Man was, but he was a main character. He had his own book. He was the leader of the Avengers. He's done this, he's done that, he's done that. You know what I mean? He had a history in the comic books, so that you could take Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3 and you could make something and pull people and make a viable story.
Yeah.
And put a storyline to it. Where Ant-Man, it's like, okay, so what did he do? And everybody's looking around at each other like, well, he shrinks. It's like, we got that part. Because he was, listen, why is Ant-Man growing? It could be, see, this is where, like you said at the beginning, you're like, we can't expect him to be like the comic books, so I should just shut my mouth. But Ant-Man and Giant Man are two different, they're the same person, but they're two different people. You know what I mean? It's like, it wasn't Ant-Man going like, I'm Ant-Man and I'm going to grow 50 feet tall. It's like, well, you're not an ant anymore. You're a giant. Right. It's like, it's not a giant. Right? It's like, it doesn't work that way. It's like, and Giant Man never shrunk. You know what I mean? Right. When he was Giant Man, he was never like, oh, well, I'm just going to shrink myself and get in here. He's like, no, I'm just going to make myself huge. So it's like, they're trying to shove two different characters into one thing because they know that the one character can't hold the whole thing to himself.
Well, the other thing is
plus Paul Rudd's lovely.
When he shrinks down and he's really small, he still has his regular, I guess, human strength, right? So he can kind of throw you around or beat you up or whatever.
He's got like the strength of an ant. It's 10 times.
Okay, yeah, whatever. And but once you kind of go through that, we've seen it anyway a million times, though. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and all this other, there's thousands of TV shows and everything. We all get the like, hey, I'm really small and look at how the world looks different when I'm small kind of thing. And then, and then he can get really big. But its utility is a bit limited because, most of the other characters have, I suppose, more interesting powers than this. So what they do then is they're like, yeah, but he could shrink down really small and go down like to the quantum level, and now he's going to find this other civilization. But what I'm thinking to myself is okay, but now he's going to be like everybody else. Like, he's going to be in this other civilization, but he's going to be Paul Rudd, same size.
They're all his height.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. So who cares? And he can be like, well, I can make myself larger than you, but I mean, it's not really that interesting.
But you're not going to be able to see anybody.
Yeah.
Because you'd be too big.
Right. And so I mean, but some of these stories are okay, but Marvel, they're kind of all over the map with me lately. So I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if it's because Disney took it over and is murdering it. Oh. It might be it. I don't know, but we'll see. I went and saw that Tom Hanks movie too, A Man Called Otto. It was like a safe date night movie type of thing.
I was supposed to take my girl to see it.
Yeah, it's a grumpy guy that, basically lives in a condo
It's great.
community, and
Yeah.
just wants to keep the place nice, and has some various wacky neighbors, and but he's also sort of depressed because he feels like his life is over. He's not moping about it. He's basically going to try and end his life at some point. But he keeps getting involved in all these wacky neighbor things, and he ultimately finds some
New neighbors move in, and
he finds some last minute happiness, I suppose, and then it ends basically. It's okay. It's just a safe family movie kind of thing. Although real little kids with the themes of suicide, it's not a lot or
yeah,
anything. But I wouldn't put real little kids in there to it. But teenagers and stuff could handle it no problem. It's fine. It's totally harmless, which is what I expected. I mean, I didn't expect it to be, a war picture or something.
Well, that's like my girlfriend. She loves Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And anything Tom Hanks, she's like, he's the greatest. He's my favorite actor. I love all his movies. And so it's like, we don't ever do anything. We never go anywhere. We never, that's like going out to dinner the other night was like something weird. We were like, we didn't know what to do. We felt weird talking to each other and stuff. Like we're out in public. So I was like, you know what? I heard about the movie. I saw when it was coming out. She didn't know. And I was like, I'm going to tell her about this. I'm going to take her to go see this man named Otto, and whatever, this guy. And I said, it looks kind of funny. Like he's grumpy and stuff. I saw the preview. I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. And so I told her about it. And she goes, I didn't know anything about this movie. And I showed her the trailer. She goes, oh my God, I got to see this. And I said, we're going to go see this. You and me, I'm going to take you out to go see this. She goes, this isn't your kind of movie. And I go, I understand that. But hey, listen, you want to go out? We'll go out. I can sit in the theater, watch a movie. Maybe I can fall asleep and you won't even notice. You never know. So I thought about that, right? And I was like, I told her about it, and I said, we're gonna go one of these days before, because this is before it came out. So I was like, we got to wait till it comes out. We got to find the right day. We're both off. And I guess Clint went and saw it. So when I talked to him, he looked at me and he was like, because I told him the story, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go take Shannon to see that. And he goes, you're not going to want to go see that. And I go, what? He goes, you are not going to like anything about that movie. And I was like, are you sure? And he's like, dude, it's sad. At the end, it's like sad. It's like really sad. It's like there's a sad thing going through the whole thing. And it's just kind of sad and depressing. And I was just like, oh, fuck, what did I get myself into? I was like, now I got to go see a sad movie. I'm like, I don't want to see this. We never have. We never went. We couldn't get the schedule.
It's not
to work out.
He's over. It's not. It's not ET dying or anything. It's okay.
Yeah.
It just ends sort of as you would expect it to. So I mean, it's just one of those things. Like it's really not. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's a tearjerker or anything. It has a. It ends on a positive, I think, in a way. Huh. Although, I mean, it does have a fucking car commercial basically in the middle of it, which is kind of annoying. But I see a lot of this lately with sponsorship stuff, and it seems like it's just becoming so obvious now in a lot of ways that I don't even know. I just saw another one too the other day in a show or a movie or something. There was also just a blatant commercial for something. It's just what I mean. I know this is how they make their money, these movie things, but I don't know. The state of movie theaters is just kind of bumming me out because it looks like Regal Cinemas is basically going to market off all their property. They're in bankruptcy and they're going to auction off all of their theaters. So we'll see if anybody buys them and who buys them and what's going to happen to them. That's Crocker Park, and I think that's
that theater's always kind of busy.
That's probably why it's the only one that's still. I mean, there's one out in Lorraine area over there. There's a Regal, but I mean the Middleburg Heights one closed a while ago. and Great Northern just closed, so those
Right.
are all gone. And then AMC, right? They only got one left, which is at Ridge Park Square. They closed the one in Solon, and they closed the Chagrin one, so they're just about dead too. Although they had
Yeah.
some weird thing happen where a lot of people pumped up their stock in order to like do a little bit of um, profit taking, right?
Mm.
And AMC utilized that jump in money to basically do stock splits, which
Mm.
enables them to get cash. And so they managed to pay down or are paying down. I don't know the whole details of their business plan, but it sounds like they're using that cash to pay down their debt. So they
Yeah.
might it might help them survive, but we'll see. Cinemark, however, profitable, doing well, and somehow weathered everything fine. Why is that? I don't know. But maybe they'll buy the Crocker Park one. I have no idea. But they're just, I mean, there's only two around here, right? There's Valley View and Strongsville is Cinemark. Um,
Yeah.
but that's it. But yeah, theaters, somehow we still have a drive-in. Still a
Right.
drive-in out here. It's probably because the,
It's a
the,
novelty.
the property that it's on has got to be dirt cheap, right? It's like highway entrance to
Right.
the left,
It's a turnpike
train
entrance.
to the right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lights.
Soccer fields.
Yeah. Bright light soccer field. And it's just like this, like, it's a drive-in. So it's just like a dirt nothing. And it's also kind of in a depression. So like you couldn't put really anything else there, I don't think.
Probably used to be a swamp.
Yeah, or it could be like some place that like the dump old cars or something. Like it just
Yeah.
so probably the rent's cheap and they've managed to be there forever. But it is family owned, so who knows? But most drive-ins went dark when they switched to digital film. So anyone's that managed to stick, I know there's one down south, like where you used to live out by Seville.
Yeah.
I think it has one theater, and it also went digital, so it's still around. But yeah, it's amazing because with all the struggles all these other theaters have, it's funny that these drive-ins around here, because like we have winter, we can't even do it year round. You can't even be like a year-round profitable business
No.
you got to take months and months off. And it's crazy. How do you do that? How do you survive? But they do it. But these big chains and shit
Dude,
can't do
this
it.
driving over here by me is always busy on the weekends.
Right.
It's like the thing to do. It's like people are into it because it's like old school. It's just like they're like, oh yeah, we can take the kids and they can run around. And
you get to see two movies basically for the price of one. That's nice.
Yeah.
And the kids can get out. It's good for families. You can stretch your legs, walk around.
Yeah, I don't know when the last time you were out there was, but they got a good concession stand too. It's like a cafeteria in there.
Yeah.
You just walk down the line with your tray. You can be like, "Here's a burger. Here's cheeseburgers.
It's like
pizza."
It's literally like going back to the 70s, though. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Like it's all nice. Like the picture is nice. You tune in on your radio. You don't have to use that squawk box in the window and shit.
Well, it's all digital too now.
Yeah, it's all digital. It's nice, but other than when the train goes by. But
Well, yeah.
But it's still like the layout and everything. It's totally like the 70s, man. Like, and you could like get out of your car, go sit on one of those picnic tables, and just watch the movie at the picnic table. Like, you don't gotta sit in your car if you don't want to. You're gonna have to have weird people walk by you all the time, try to touch you. But I don't know.
Nothing new there. People always walking by me trying to touch. Well, no, never mind.
Well, we have some other theaters in Cleveland too. There's like these Atlas ones I've never been to, and there's the Cleveland theaters, the Capitol, the Cedar Lee, etc.
But those are like the artsy ones.
Yeah, Capitol's all right. That's the one that's over on West 65th. That's regular movies.
The Cedar Lee's the one that always does like the 35 millimeter special edition.
Yeah, if you want to see an independent film, you would go to Cedar Lee, probably. They'll play regular mainstream stuff sometimes though too. They want to make money, but And then let's see what else we were going to talk about. I started playing the Dead Space remake on Xbox. Dead Space is interesting. The first Dead Space came out, and it's like, a horror, first-person shooter type of horror game. And you're investigating like a ship. It's kind of like Event Horizon in a way, and it's infected with these mutated humans, basically. So the humans get infected with this, whatever undead thing, and then they all kind of turn into these creatures with like razor arms and shit, and and you just got to kill them, basically. But they always sneak up on you, or they play dead, and there's some jump scares and things like that. But it's got a good like sort of story going with it. You pick up like recordings of people talking, when they were still like on the ship, and there's some notes to read, and you run into people that are still alive, and they talk to you, and then you have like your crew, and they're in different parts of the ship, so they come on video and tell you to meet them, and so all that, and that's been that way since the original game, and it did really well. It sold really well, and then they were like, all right, we're going to release the second one. And Electronic Arts, big money, everything. They released the second game, and that did great. Second game did great. They were like, woo, Dead Space 2, rock. We're going to make a Dead Space 3. And they made a Dead Space 3, and I think it reviewed out okay. It's maybe not quite as good as the first two, but it wasn't terrible. It was like worth the money. But it's just like one of those things where like nobody bought it. Like nobody bought it. They did make one for the Wii called Dead Space. I think it was called Extraction, which was an on-rail shooter. It was actually kind of fun. I actually have that. But then that's it. Then Electronic Arts was like, well, you guys didn't want to buy the third one. We're not making any more Dead Space games. And it's like, I don't think it was due to the reviews or anything. I think they might have been like, oh, the people don't want to play those games anymore. They want to play Call of Duty and something like that, which may be true, but I think it's just also about the timing of when you release something. There's like when there's a drought of games like there is currently on like these new consoles. There's you might go buy a Dead Space or something, but if you released it like the third one, when there's like a whole bunch of games being released at the same time, then, gamers only have so much money. You're not going to go buy them. These games are expensive, man. There's $60, $70. You're only going to buy like one game or something to play. That's going to be your game for a while. And the Dead Space 3 wasn't going to be it. And I also think that when you start to, it's just like with movies, when you start to number them, then people are like, well, I didn't play the first one, or I didn't finish the second one, so I'm not gonna play the third one because I didn't get done with the first one, right? And so, then people are you're sort of just call it something else, just call it like Dead Space, Darkness Rises or something, just some bullshit, yeah, and then people would be like more apt to probably play it, but by numbering them, they're killing themselves. So anyway, it's been quite a while, and then they decided to redo the game. So they rebuilt the game, so it's the same game, not the same game. Like same little map layout, same kind of things like that, but all new graphics, but also like they added more content. So it's like it's more fleshed out. They changed some of the way certain things were done and made it a little bit more polished and refined. So it's like a better experience overall. I don't know if it's really worth the $70 price tag for it, because I already played the first one, and so I felt like, well, I'm playing the same game again. I get there's more to it, and people worked on it and everything, but it probably could have stood to be like, maybe a $50 game rather than a $70 game, Yeah. But otherwise, it's a pretty good jaunt right now. I haven't got all the way through it yet or anything, but yeah, it's fun. The scary thing, these kind of games aren't overly scary. Like, not more scary than most other games that involve like first-person shooter kind of thing. A guy runs out, that kind of thing.
Right.
It's not really like a horror game because some of those horror games are like set you on edge, constantly.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, they're just you're just in a dark place and it's creepy as hell. But yeah,
that's why I stopped paying. That's why I stopped playing Max Payne, because at one point he goes into a dream sequence and he's just running in darkness, following a trail of blood while a baby cries in the background, and I couldn't handle that for more than a minute and a half. I was like, I can't do this. I had to shut it off. I was like, this is killing me.
Oh my god, it's funny, Max.
It was the worst. I never played that game again.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. And then on Switch, or not Switch, Steam Deck, I've been playing Red Dead 2. It works okay. The sound's a little bit choppy on it, but it works okay. It's kind of weird, really. I mean, because the Steam Deck runs on Linux, it doesn't run on Windows, and it uses this thing called Proton and some Linux libraries to sort of emulate Windows. So you don't really know it's Windows, but the game works, right? The game's written for Windows, but it works. But with Red Dead, it had a bit of a cumbersome launch setup that you kind of got to log in to Take-Two Interactive, but the mouse isn't there, and you got to use the touch screen, and the keyboard pops up, and it's all you get it, like you'll get it to work, but it's just kind of it's futzy, and it's like.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping that more and more games get written with Steam Deck in mind, so that the fonts are bigger, the text is larger, and the interfaces are a little bit clearer for certain games and everything. But overall, I think it's a nice piece of kit when you can get a game like this that works good on it. I already actually have Red Dead Redemption 2. I forget if I have it on the PlayStation or the Xbox, but I just never get back down to it. So I said, well, I'll do it on the portable system, because I kind of just keep that near my bed when I can't sleep, and just kind of plodding through it. I really hate playing games twice, like going through the same thing over again. It really
kills the anticipation.
Yeah, I feel like I'm aging. Like, I just feel like my body's aging. Like, there's like, 1,000 other games I could play. I don't want to play the same things over again. But I didn't get that far in it, So it's like, I'm just trying to catch up to where I stopped playing. Because I got that, and then I ended up getting what is that thing? Cyberpunk, yeah. And I played that all the way through, to completion. So that was kind of my... It took my focus off of Red Dead 2. So now I'm back on Red Dead 2. Or whatever it is. It's not Red. Is it Red Dead? Because the first one's Red Dead, and then it's Red Dead. I don't even know what this one is. Is it Red Dead?
The first one's Red Dead Revolver.
Right.
Then the second, that's what I was going to say to you, because you were like, they got to stop numbering these games, because I never played Red Dead Revolver, but I heard about it. But then Red Dead Redemption came out, and that was the second one. And I bought that and played that, and I was like, this is great. But then they said Red Dead Redemption 2. I own that. I have it for PlayStation.
Red Dead Redemption, right? So that I played that too. That was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't know if I finished. I don't think I finished it. I think I got close to finishing it.
Let me say this. You'll know you finished if you remember the barn scene at the very end.
Yeah, I think I died at the end or something. Or doesn't he die at the end? I think it's something like
yeah, that. I could spoil it, right? It was like one of the greatest moments I've ever had in my life, because I was just like, because I thought the game was over. They had credits, they did everything. And then it comes back to the farm with him and his wife and the kid and stuff. And you're just like, and like the old uncle guy or whatever,
right?
The old drunk dude. And I'm like, there's more. And they do like a couple missions where they're like, go out and herd some cattle. And I was sweet. Yeah. And I go do that. And I come do this, I come do that. And then all of a sudden somebody comes in and goes, they're people, they're coming. And like the whole army comes out or something like that. And you get caught in the barn. And then like, they're like, you got to push the door open to go out there. And I was like, okay, here we go. And I was like all by myself. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to dead eye and I'm going to hit as many of these dudes as possible as I can. And you push that door open and there's like 30 guys standing there. And it's just like, I got a 6-shooter. I'm so screwed. You know what I mean? You're just like, it's so depressing and exciting at the same time. Cause you're just like, all right, here we go. I'm going to kill every one of these guys. And you kick the door open and there's so many. You're just like, I'm going to get 6 of you. You know, it's
right.
Like, and then you get shot and you watch yourself die.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, there you go, guys. Now it's now you can.
Now. Yeah. You know, that's one of those things where you wonder, like, you know, if there would have been a way to like survive it. I remember when I played the original Days X on the PC ages ago, and there's this part in the game where your brother is in like a hotel room or in his apartment or something, and he's talking to you and he's sort of unveiling some parts of this, you know, conspiracy that are going on, etc. And then the police, or, you know, whatever they are at the door, and he's basically telling you, he's like, you got to go, just get out of here, you know, leave and everything. And so, you know, you go out the window and I escape and everything. And then later, you know, you go to the morgue and you see his body and all this sort of stuff, and, you know, you help identify. And I, you know, and then later, like, I don't know, you know, months later or something, somebody tells me, it's like, no, I stayed with my brother and we fought the fucking cops and we fucking killed them all. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you can do that? Like, what? Yeah, man. You just, you know, you just went to, he told me to leave. He's like, well, yeah, but you don't leave. You just fucking, like, hi, okay. You know, so I was like, wow, you know, so you never know, like with video games, like they could, you know, there might be a way and you don't know until you run into somebody and then you're like, wait a minute, I didn't know I could do that. You know,
that's totally what I was thinking. I was like, okay, so obviously I get out here, I'm only going to have 6 shots at this, and then no, I'm dead. I'm dying. Game's over. Forget about it.
It's funny. So
that's what makes games exciting. See?
Oh yeah, no, it does. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if they're done right, I mean, those Red Dead and GTA's and stuff, you know, they're like premium. They're like premium games. Like, you know, they're just done so well. And there's a handful of developers out there making really great games, and then there's a bunch of developers out there that are shoveling shit out to us. No, some of them make good games, but they're not at the same level. Is all. You know, it's that AAA game thing is like, you know, a Red Dead 2, but you know, if you get like I don't know, another Sonic game, Sonic Unleashed or something. You know, I like Sega, but it's not a AAA game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, I got the Final Sabotage LP. Took them forever to press the Poets and Madmen. And I finally got it, and I finally listened to it, you know, all the way through and both sides. And I can tell you that it's not a good album. Which we kind of knew that. There's a couple of things on it that are okay, but it's like you can kind of tell that, like, whatever this experiment was that Savatage was doing had moved on and became, you know, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and Poets and Madmen was just not really a metal album. It was some weird hybrid between Trans-Siberian Orchestra and what Savatage once was. And it's not very good. And then, of course, you know, Savatage goes on to be Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And now I kind of just have a deeper understanding of where John Oliva's Pain comes from, right? Because John Oliva's Pain, that's the name of it, is his spin-off band. Like, John Oliva is the singer, original singer of Savatage. And he first, like, while, you know, Savatage got a new singer, he was like, I'm going to start my own band, and I'm going to call it Dr. Butcher. And he creates this Dr. Butcher album, which is actually pretty good. Like, it's actually, you know, like a Savatage album before all the operatic, you know, story bullshit. It's actually a pretty decent album. And then he decided not to do that anymore. Like, he didn't want to do another Dr. Butcher album. And the problem with John is that he can't actually put his name at this time on a Savatage record. So if he sang for Savatage, all the money that he would make would go to a bunch of bad deals that he made a long time ago. So he had to, when he went to like Handful of Rain and sang a couple of songs and things like that, he couldn't put his name on the album. He couldn't get royalties and all this sort of stuff. So doing Savatage wasn't making him any money. He was just doing it for the fans. Other than probably getting paid, as a session player and all that sort of stuff, but not getting royalties off the record. And then, after Poets and Madmen, he comes out with John Will Live His Pain, and they had 3 albums, 2 or 3, maybe 2 and a EP. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And I've got those, and I've got to sit down and listen to those. I don't think those are as good as Dr. Butcher, because I remember listening to him in the past. But I'm going to give this. But Poets and Madmen kind of closes the chapter on that band. Kind of just a really interesting story of like, 2 brothers in Florida playing in a shed, create a metal band during the heyday of metal. Kind of get a gold record there with Almost or whatever with All of the Mountain King, and then they kind of get a little progressive after that. So they did Gutter Ballet, which I think is a pretty good metal album. And they did Streets, which is good, but maybe less of a metal album, a little bit more progressive. Right. And then after that, it just gets like, they don't even have the same people in the band anymore, basically. They're just like all different people in the band, except for the guitarist, but then he dies, which is John's brother, which was also one of the main reasons to even listen, was because Chris Oliva was an amazing guitarist, and
had his own sound and everything,
right? And just fantastic. And so then when he leaves, you're just kind of left with this sort of weird thing. I don't know, where they're just kind of making like story records and things. It's just strange, really. And the music's not terrible. Like I said, it does transform itself into Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which millions of people around the world love because of Christmas and everything. But so they did evolve, and they all made their money, and they did the right thing. But it's just a weird. They just went about it all in a weird way, like no other band did that. So a lot of bands just stuck with their original sound, like Wasp, like Blackie Lawless is like, I'm just going to keep doing the same shit, and through the rest of my life. And that's cool. And there's lots of bands, Testament, Anthrax, all this sort of stuff. They all experiment, but they're all, kind of doing the same thing. Metallica kind of went progressive, as we all know. And then they tried to take it back, and everybody's like, no, you can't do it anymore, guys. You're old and dumb. To go the way Savatage went through this whole, I don't know, especially for a band that never had a platinum album, really bizarre, just a really bizarre tale. Anyway, I just kind of want to finish on that because I finally got through it, and now I don't know what I'm going to listen to anymore. I don't know what I'm going to get. It's kind of,
it's like decades of music that you like, mark a year.
Kind of gone through it all. I've watched a lot of Yngwie on YouTube recently. Not because I like Yngwie, because I don't. There's a couple songs, but he has a large body of work. Of course, he's going to have a couple that are really, those are all right. But he's I won't take it away from him though. The guy can play guitar. It's a different way of playing guitar. He's playing like a classical kind of way. It's not flamenco or anything, but he's playing. He can play. Like, he can play the way he's playing. Like, he's not just all. I mean, he still wears his puffy shirts and shit.
Of course,
thinks he's a pirate or whatever. But as much as we all used to make fun of him and everything for being so fluffy, being a bit of a fruit. If you watch some stuff on YouTube, of him playing, like, it's and I've watched some other like professional guitar players like try to play his songs, and they struggle with it, because of I don't know. They just haven't trained themselves to play that way that he played. All those years. I'm not saying he's the greatest guitarist or anything like that. I don't believe that at all. And I also think that's just a very subjective thing. Like, what is the greatest guitarist? It doesn't. There's really no true definition of that or anything.
Like I tell people, Ace Frehley's my favorite.
Right.
It doesn't make him the best because I know he's not the best.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like that's my favorite. That's just the guy I like.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that it would come down to like how many people really want to buy your music, and listen to it. I mean, you can make all the art in the world, but if nobody wants to look at it, it's all going to get thrown into a pile and burned. It's still art. No one's going to take it away from you, but eventually no one's going to want to listen to it. So what is success? What makes you the greatest? And it's going to end up being like peers and people that listen to your music, and so. The stuff that lasts the longest, the things that people listen to, is probably going to, put you into a better place. Like Van Halen used to be really huge, and of course he still is in a lot of ways, but I don't think that a lot of the songs of like Van Halen, other than like Running with the Devil and stuff on classic rock that they used to play to death, you know what I mean? Like they don't play like a lot of the Sammy Hagar era stuff.
Right.
And they keep it mostly with the early David Lee Roth stuff, and even that they kind of limit to like Pretty Woman and a few songs, and yet that was a band that had a lot of chart topping hits, right? And Eddie Van Halen, of course, was considered one of the greatest guitarists ever. I mean, he was arguably fantastic for his time. But I just wonder, like, kids today, do they really want to listen to Eddie Van Halen? No, probably not.
No.
And so it's like, I don't know.
They don't even know.
They don't even care, though. I don't think kids care that much about who's a good guitarist or anything like that. It's like some weird thing we had when we were young. It's more competitive.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about that. They were like, 70s and 80s rock is like the best rock there was, because that's when you had guitar gods, and you had like front men, and you had like, that was like the big deal. Like, the lead singer was the ringleader of the show, and it was an experience, and it was a thing. And like the guitar god was the guy who would go out there and do a guitar solo for 5-10 minutes. And it's like, you don't have that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, they'd be like, oh, name some guitar guys. You'd be like, oh, Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Ace Frehley, you know what I mean? Eddie Van Halen, there's Jeff Beck, Stevie Ray Vaughan, there's all these names. And then it's like, okay, name some guitar gods from today. And it's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? There's like, it's a completely different thing nowadays, music-wise. What you were saying about having somebody who can play really well and put their music out and all this, and like different bands and all stuff. George Lynch has released pretty much like an album every year or two with
right.
like different bands and stuff like that. And the dude's a phenomenal guitar player. I mean, he really is.
Yeah.
I mean, he did an album with Michael Sweet from Stryper. He's redone Doc and stuff. He goes on tour with all this. He just reformed Lynch Mob like a year and a half ago. He says, "I'm not using that name anymore. I'm gonna do this other name." And then he came back a couple months ago. He goes, "Okay, I'm gonna do Lynch Mob now. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna call it that." It's like the dude just keeps trying, but nobody's. You know what I mean? Nobody gets into it. You know. Right. So. That's all I got to say about that.
Okay, hold on.
Uh-oh, we lost him, everybody.
Oh, my God.
No, I heard like you thumping on the desk or something, and then now the volume's really low. Nope, I got nothing. I can barely hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You kept kicking out. On one side. So I don't know. It probably recorded fine, but I was trying to fix this horrible mixing board because, it's owned by the devil. I don't know why I have all these problems. But anyway, the show's over. We went long. We'll be back next week, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you. Talk to you later.
Peace.
You've been listening to Oblast with Don and Kevin. If you'd like to write into the show, send an email to oblast@vgn.us. That is VGN as in video game news. And be sure to check out our Patreon page, which is at patreon.com/VGN, where you can get all of our shows, our videos, and some musings. Be sure to tune in each week for new episodes on our Patreon page or every other week on the public RSS feed that you're subscribed to now. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Peace.